Welcome to Flipping Miami, a podcast for those who want to learn real estate investing, do more, and make more. Now, here is your host, Raul Bolufe.
Yo, what's up? Raul here, Flipping Miami, another episode. I'm pumped, man. This guy's full of energy, right? Look at him. Smile, dog. So we got Joe Dillon here. He's a wholesaler. The guy's a badass. We've met and we did some partying together, actually. But so we met at almost an unconventional place. But dude, we spoke a lot. Really cool dude. He also, apart from being a wholesaler, he does a lot of coaching. He's coming out with a new program for realtors. He's got his own team. He travels. He lives a pretty awesome life. So I'm passionate about bringing on people who are not only good in real estate, but who are good at living their best life, right? So we got Joe, man. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me, brother. How's everything with you, man?
Bro, all good, man. Trying to make $1.
Yeah. Trying to make $1 or $1 million of those, right?
Yeah. So, dude, we'll kind of get into like some of the wholesaling stuff in a bit. I'm sure in this episode there'll be like a ton of good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to start with like some of the questions I asked. They're not so unconventional, but they're more like a little bit more deep, just so people could see who the person really is. So
for sure.
So, dude, who was Joe Dillon like? I know now you got your team, but who was Joe Dillon like in high school? Maybe like 15, 16 years old. Like what?
Oh man.
Were you shy? Were you outgoing like this, or how
Yeah, you're taking me back, man. You know what? I've never been asked that on a podcast before, but I love that question. So I was when I was in high school, let's say, I don't want this to come off in any way, right? But it definitely shaped my personality. It definitely shaped who I was. But basically, I was always, I guess, part of the popular crew, I guess you could say. And you know, I knew mostly everybody in high school and middle school, right? Started partying and all that stuff. And my entrepreneurial journey started early, right? Like really early, actually. My first entrepreneurial venture, like I would go to Peru, right? Where my family's from. Okay. Buy these Lacoste polos, right? And I would come back and I would flip them.
So you'd buy Lacoste polos in Peru and then bring them to.
Yeah, I can't like. I bought them for like $7 though, right? And clearly they were not real, right? But I was like trying to justify it in my head, and I kind of didn't know that they weren't real because I was like 14 at the time.
Damn.
But then I would come back and I would flip them for like 40, and I would just do like 30, 40, 50 of those.
Good margin right there.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Pretty good margins, right?
Those Lacoste polos back in the day. For anybody who's like from 24 to like 26, 27, the Lacoste polos back in the day were.
That's where it was at, man. That's where it was at. It was polo, and then it was Ralph Lauren polos, and then there was Lacoste polos.
Oh, that's sick.
But anyhow, I always had an entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like, I did that, and then one of my bigger ventures, I actually hosted parties when I was 17. Okay, and obviously we're 17 years old, right? In America, right in DC, there's nothing to really do until you're 21 except go to house parties, right? So like, what I would do is I would rent out these places, and I would host these big, huge parties, and it started off small. It started like 100. Well, it wasn't really that small, but it started off like 100 people. And it grew, right? It grew. And eventually, like, there were like 500 people, 600 people on my parties. And I would be charging them 10, 15, $20 to get in. So I was a young kid. I was like 17 years old. And I would be making like $5 to $7 grand a pop, like a night. Wow. Like with like no expenses pretty much, Yeah. What my point being, right? Like all that got to my head, right? Young kid with a lot of ego. Yeah, I was the man, you know what I mean? And it's funny how like later in life, at least for those who are actually self-aware, which that's one of the things that I absolutely live by is self-awareness. At least those people who are self-aware. By the way, if you can hear people in the background, people are cranking right now.
Yeah, you can't stop them.
He's back right there. What's up? What's up?
What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Getting deals?
Okay, so, yeah, we're recording a podcast. So anyhow, so yeah, man. So basically, that's kind of how it started. But what I realized is that, like, in retrospect, that led me to constantly seek for approval, because I was always like that popular kid, and I was always kind of in that light. A lot of my validation came from that.
Yep.
And so, over time, especially in college, after college, like, it wasn't really until my mid-20s that I actually really, really started to, one, become aware of that, and two, start to target that, right? And
Gotcha.
that, and then reverse it,
That's sick.
And so, yeah, man. So I've always definitely been outgoing.
So if I would have met you when we were 16, we were in the same high school, because you lived in Washington, you said?
Yeah. Yep. I'm from DC. Yep. From right outside DC, Northern Virginia.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
So if we would have met, you would have been the popular kid throwing parties.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, hey, man, I still love the party. I mean, shit, we partied together in Miami. But I think obviously there's a time and place, right?
Yeah.
But,
the reason I asked that question is because people come from different lights, right? I was actually a really shy kid in high school. Like, I was like probably the shyest, right? Like, I always hung out with people. I had friends, but I wasn't outgoing. Like, I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't get out of my comfort zone a lot.
Yeah.
I grew out of it, right? And then some people fall into like that category that they're always outgoing, and then maybe they get shy or later on, or they. So I like to ask that question because people are like, some people have when I talk to them, almost like a box of what a successful person might look like.
Yeah.
You have to be an entrepreneur from when you were 3. It's like, it's not always like that. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. 100%. Like, in fact, like I actually enjoy those stories a lot more. Like, hey, there was a turning point, right?
Yeah.
And it was like but here's the thing, like, there's something beautiful about every person's story, right? Everybody needs to own their own story. And whatever that is, like the reality is, like, your perception is reality. Your perception is what drives meaning to you. Yeah. What drives meaning and that's it. That's all that matters,
Yeah,
so.
Dude. So all right. So you're getting out of high school. You finish throwing these, you're throwing these parties, making some money, and then what happens like when you're leaving high school? What's like the next like chapter that happened in your life after that?
All right. So basically, after high school, I went to college, right? Okay. Here's the thing too. I was always like a high achiever in school.
Oh, okay.
Because I came from, like, my family didn't really know much about college. I didn't really have any guidance when it came to that, and so I always wanted to achieve. I wanted to to get to that next level consistently. And so I was looking forward to college, right? And so I was in AP classes, like I got a 3.9 GPA in school, so I was like a pretty good student, But and so I went to Cornell, and
good school.
What's up?
Good school.
Yeah. It's crazy though. It was on a social level, it was a completely different experience, because I'm used to my own, my bubble. I'm used to, like, place where I'm popular.
Yeah.
Place with like 40,000 people, you're just like it's just like,
yeah, you're just a number.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Almost. And it's like, and it was hard for me to kind of find my circle, like the people that I actually spend time with in college. But
that's interesting. Especially in a school like that all those like 40,000 people, a big majority of them are like high achievers already.
Yeah, for sure. And then they all come from, I mean, you're talking about Cornell, right? So Ivy League school, you're talking about like rich white kids. You know what I mean? and so that it was completely different than what I was used to.
Yeah.
And I almost felt like really out of place, to be honest. But that was so good for me in retrospect, because I got out of my fucking bubble. And it's like, boom, like, here's life, actually. And it's a humbling experience.
Yeah.
And so I find that, like, if you're paying attention and you're actually, a good soul, right, which I think most people are, life will humble you when you need it, you know? And that constantly happens, right? That constantly happens. It's like a cycle. It's beautiful. But,
That's awesome.
yeah, so you know, I wasn't the best. What's that?
Where'd you go to study there? What was your major?
So hotel administration and commercial real estate.
Oh,
So
dope.
it was like the hospitality. So I wanted to, you know, I would be in hotels. I actually ended up there. I'm originally like inherently I'm a math and science person.
Really?
So like I'm very good with math. And so I actually went into engineering, believe it or not.
Shit.
Yeah, but I quickly realized I was like, holy shit, like I do not belong here.
That's tough.
And it was a little too intense, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm so glad I did, and I went to kind of more of like a business type of a major.
Okay.
Because you know the hotels school there is like the best in the world.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like a business school though, you know. So you know we did the finance, we did the accounting, right? We did you know economics, right? All that stuff. And so yeah, it was good though.
So you left high school, you go to Cornell to first study hospitality and commercial real estate. You kind of dabbled in engineering.
Yeah.
How important you run a business now? You have a couple businesses, I think, like with consulting stuff. You like have that. Like how big of an impact was school in your life? And what would you say to the people who have the dedication and will to do well, but don't believe in school?
That's such a good question, right? I love this question because here's what I genuinely believe, right? You can get a lot out of college if you put solid intentions towards it. But again, this is coming from me. Like I went to one of the best schools in the nation, and I don't think it's necessary.
Really?
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I think it could polish you up a little bit more, but I think most of that time is, I mean, if you look at 99% of the population in college, like they're fucking around. Let's be real. Everybody's fucking around. Like they're not really giving it that, you know, that attention that it deserves. A lot of people are there because their parents want them to be there. It's traditional. It's the way. It's the path. It's the
American way.
It's the mold. Yes. Stay in your lane. Stay in this lane because this is how you have to be successful. You go to school, go to college, get a job, you know, and work for 40 years and retire, and then, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's very traditional. But here's the thing. Like back in the day, let's say like, you know, when colleges were first getting founded, early 1900s, you know, late 1800s, you know, things like that, like when education was actually valued so much and we didn't have the internet, then yes, like back in those days, hugely helpful. But now that we have the internet, bro, you can learn anything that you want on the fucking internet, right?
Yeah.
And if you have the discipline and the tenacity and the drive to do so, like you can learn literally anything that you want from books and from the internet.
And a lot quicker.
What's that?
And a lot quicker too.
Yeah. And but the reality is like socially, college is a good experience.
Yeah.
And so I don't just look at like I think a lot of people, especially in the entrepreneur world, in the business world, and in this country in general, and in this world in general, let's say, a lot of people just think surface level, right? And so I'm not just thinking like, okay, on a business level or on a financial level, like, is this good overall? The reality is I think college is great socially, right? I think it forces you to, especially like if you're going somewhere where you don't know a lot of people like I did,
gotta get out of your.
It can be really good for you. It can be very, very good for you to get out of your comfort zone, to go out and meet a bunch of people, right? And to really get out of your shell.
That's awesome.
You know, now some people go to state schools and it's a little different because they know a bunch of people there. I had an opportunity to go to UVA, which a bunch of my friends were going to UVA, but I chose Cornell, right? One, because it was a better school, but yeah, like, you know, I went there, I knew nobody. I literally didn't know anybody, and so I was forced to do that.
And what would you say to the people? What would you say to? I'm sure you've gotten this too, right? someone wants to get into business. It could be wholesaling, it could be investing, it could be cryptocurrency, whatever business. They're young, probably they either have the choice to stay in college or they have the choice to venture off and try something, but they've never succeeded at anything in the past. And they're going more towards the direction of, I don't want to go to school, but they've never really succeeded at anything. Which is okay. But like, what would you say to that person if they're like talking to you and say, yo, Joe, I'm in school and I hate it. I want to go pursue this thing. I've never really done anything cool in the past. I haven't succeeded at anything. Like what would you say to that person? Like, is there hope for them? What can they do? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
How can they eventually be in like a position like yours, or how can they eventually be like living a better life?
For sure. All right. So
I'm making you think this Friday, bro.
Such a great, no, dude, I can have these conversations all day. I love them. Here's the reality, right? All right. I can hit this on a bunch of different levels, right? And I'll refrain from something because I feel like most people aren't there. Because I'm constantly like spiritually progressing. Right. And so I see life a lot differently than most people. Right. And what I'll say to that is there is a reason for every season. Okay. Wherever you are, you're literally supposed to be there. Okay. Now, it's possible to, like, once you start to realize how the laws of this world work, right? I'm not talking about gravity. I'm talking about there's certain laws at play that we can't see. Right. If you put your intention towards something, right, you're much higher likelihood of actually getting there, right? It's called the law of attraction, right? Yeah. So the reality is you can attract to you like what you truly desire. If you're living in alignment with that, this is what I fully believe, like things will start to come to you. So if you're supposed to, if you're not supposed to be in school, like, and you are going to go off doing this other venture, for example, I think things will align as long as you're paying attention and you're putting intention towards things. You're not just like complaining, you're not just like partying all the time. You know what I mean? Like you're actually legitimately putting an intention towards like, all right, I want a better life. And so because of that, I want something I want to attract something that I'm actually passionate about. I think like that's possible to do that even at a young age.
Even if they've never succeeded at anything.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, reality is like, okay, and you'll find this. I'm always doing this, but like,
spinning
what is success, right? Like that's something that you have to define for yourself, right? Success on the tangible, superficial, surface level perspective is like, all right, do you have a good career, or do you have a good business, and are you making money, and that's what most people say success is, right? But there are I think success is a mindset, it's a mentality, and it's overall quality of life, right?
I like that.
If you think about it, like all these external things, it's all fucking bullshit. Okay, it's all bullshit, right? And this is coming from me. I have a beautiful car, a nice apartment, but all those things that most people are chasing, they don't give them the actual, like what they're actually looking for, right? And so what you're really looking for is internal peace, right? Being complete and whole with who you are, and internal growth, right? And, it's that balance between, that which is, I think, is stemmed from an area of self-love, which I think is what everyone's goal should be. And nobody is actually paying attention to this shit because they're distracted by the external. When you're distracted by the external, you're not even paying attention to what your soul actually wants,
Yeah.
you know? And so like, I think like that's the goal, to start being really, really in tune with what your soul actually wants, right? And, you know, the reality is like someone that is making 50,000 a year could be just as happy, probably even happier. This is the reality. They could be even happier than someone that is making 10 million a year, right? That's stressed, and you know they're always comparing themselves even at that level, and they still have a fear
Loss.
of being broke, a fear of loss. They have all of this stuff, right? And someone could be very, very content, perfectly happy, have great relationships, and be very successful, right? Have a very, very high quality of life at that level. So like, I want to change the way that we approach success, right? As a collective. And again, this is coming from me. Like, I've built 2 7-figure businesses, and I'm already 28. And I'm thankful that at a young age, I'm able to see like, hey, this is not it, right? Like, so I'm big into meditation, right? I'm huge. Like, meditation changed my life. Okay. And I can get way more joy, way more peace, way more real, like a genuine sense of love, literally by meditating, than by making $1 million, right? And then what happens is I cultivate that over time, and that becomes who I am. And when that becomes who I am, like, I'm literally a living, breathing, like just walking, I guess, light, you can say.
Yeah.
And I'm giving that to others, right? And I'm giving that from a place of wholeness. And I think, like, and I'm sorry I went on a complete tangent here,
No, it's all good.
but I think we have it all wrong. Like, our world is so focused on the externals. And I think that if you focus on the internals, then your soul, right? This is what I believe, and this is what I've literally seen and listened to. Your soul will guide you
To the right place.
right? Or you can call it, different religions call it different things and different beliefs, right? God will guide you. You know what I mean? And you just have to be paying attention.
So
Pay attention. What's that? Go ahead.
no, that's good. So like, it was, that's like it's deep, man, which is good. I feel like that's how I can describe it. But I love those conversations, man, because that's like actually real shit that, whether you believe it or not, it's like real shit that's out there, right? And
Yeah.
it impacts people in real ways. And what I took from that was, you have this person that wants to get somewhere. They're between 2 tough decisions, either stay in school in this case, and kind of like what I'm getting was, dude, set your intention on whatever you want to do from the inside, right? Like, don't stay in school because your parents, don't stay in school because
Right.
they're telling you what to do. But at the same time, don't go get into business because you want a Ferrari, or don't get into business because you want to impress, a girl or some shit, right? Like, choose what you want to do, set the intention, and just go.
Well, I'm gonna add to that, right? Because I'm not saying don't do that. That's the thing, right?
Right.
So we as humans were obsessed with duality. Duality. All right, this is good, this is bad. Do this, don't do this, right?
Okay.
And kind of from a spiritual context, the reality is, like, it is what it is, right? And there's a such thing as non-duality, which I'm not going to get into, but but essentially, I'm not even saying don't do that. It might be that person's path to build a business because he wants that Ferrari. Yep. To build a business because he wants to get that girl, right? That was my path.
Yep.
When I was young, when I was superficial.
That's what I wanted to get into that. Like, you've been at that like 7-figure, or like you've been at a successful and an income basis per median American. So you've been at like, a higher level of income per median when you were not thinking this way, So like spiritually, and then now you're here and you're thinking this way. What would you say is like the big difference between those two worlds that you lived in?
Oh man, massive difference, right? Like when you live from a place of self-awareness, from a place of connection to something greater than you, when you live from a place of wholeness, right? To where like I'm already good. I don't need the Ferrari because it's not gonna complete me. I'm already freaking complete. It sounds corny, but I swear to God, this is the key. This is the fucking key. I don't need the Ferrari. Literally, like I have I have a nice car, right? I have an R8, but I really could care less about it.
Yeah.
Like I really don't care about it. Like I could sell it tomorrow and I would be fine.
Yeah.
You know? And that's awesome. It's awesome to say that, right? But 5 years ago, me would have been like,
I need that shit.
nah, dude, like this is your identity. This is your identity. This is who you are. If you don't have, how are people going to know that you're successful? Yeah. How are people going to like you? How are people going to approve of you? Right. You know? And I was listening to this podcast with Avi Marcus and I forgot who else it was.
I've listened to that, yeah.
But there was this guy he was talking with, and he had a very similar story to what I have. Like he had the nice things, and then he realized that wasn't it at all. But they were saying like they were questioning it, right? Like one thing that when you start to really progress on a spiritual and mental level, you start to realize like the more that you know, the less that you know. Right? Like, and what I mean by that is like the more that you discover in your personal life, the more that you realize there's so much more that you don't know. Right? And so what that does to people that are actually in tune and paying attention is that it makes you way more, it makes you humble immediately, right? And there are a lot of people in this world that are very like, hey, this is the right way. It's this way. And they're very, very set on that. But all they're doing is they're projecting their own insecurities in a form of, hey, this is right, listen to me.
Right.
And so
open-mindedness or
absolutely, yeah. And so the more I think open-mindedness is one of the indicators of true growth, how open-minded you are.
Yeah.
And so when I say anything that I say, you'll notice like this, and for those of you who are listening, if you rewind this whole thing and play from the beginning, I'm never saying this is the right way.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people that are listening to podcasts, they love to just like, hey, tell me what to do and I'll do it. The reality is like I said, there's reasons for everything. And, there's not ever like one right way. Right. That's why religion is kind of fucking up the world, right? I'm incredibly spiritual. I believe in God. I just don't believe in religion, right? I don't believe in the divisiveness. I think we're all tapping into a higher, source. But again, I won't digress into that. Yeah. But kind of to bring it back, you asked me. Oh shoot! I lost my train of thought.
Like what so like you were like at a high point income wise,
yes.
Here and here, non-spiritual, with the right mindset.
Right.
Because the reason I asked this question is like, I think it's more some young guys, and that's okay because we're relatively young, and we were young. We were both probably pretty young when we started, and we were thinking the same shit. Yo, I want to make some money to buy a nice Porsche, a Ferrari, an R8. I want to live in a dope condo. I want to go out and pop bottles, whatever it is. But and that's why that was like our push to start and make money, and that's okay for a certain time, or maybe for a longer time. Everyone's journey is different.
Yeah.
The reason I ask this is like, why? What I want to get at is like, why should people pay attention to mindset and intention? Like, why is that important? Why is it just not enough that I go on appointments, or why is it just not that I make enough calls to get deals? Like, why is it more important for me to actually have mindset right, or have intention right, or have like my spirituality or my self-worth right? Like, why is that even important? Why can't I just go out there and make some money?
Because that's everything. The externals, like I was saying, the money, right? Closing the deals, right? And, I've closed hundreds of deals in my lifetime. I've closed a $300,000 deal before, right? The reality is none of that shit even matters. That stuff doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. It's kind of just like an event. Okay, it happens in this whole realm of possibilities, right? And there's a great book, by the way. And we can come back to book recommendations after, which I'll name a ton of great, amazing books. But one of the books that I highly recommend is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And so that book will completely revolutionize the way that you think, right? And essentially, in that book, he talks about the quantum field, right? Okay, so he takes a very scientific perspective to spirituality, and I love that. And he talks about there's an infinite amount of possibilities in that exists in the quantum field, right? And he talks about, I guess, his version of the law of attraction. You manifest, your ability to manifest something is grabbing that possibility from the infinite amount of possibilities. You grab that possibility and then you bring it into manifestation, right? You manifest it into reality. But essentially what I'm saying is there's an infinite amount of possibilities in the quantum field, in the quantum realm, right? And bringing it back, you were asking
why is it important? Yeah.
Why is it important, right? And so the reality is again, all those things are just literally just events that happen. They're events that happen in the quantum field, right? And that they come into reality. But that's all it is, right? But all of life, your quality of life, overall, your happiness, I think, and I've experienced, is determined by your emotional states of mind, your states of mind, not emotional. Let me take that back, but your states of mind, right? A collective sum of your states of mind. So if you're constantly feeling low energy, if you're constantly feeling, depressed, if you're constantly feeling, lonely or sad or mad or angry, you're going to not have a good quality of life, right? Clearly, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, if you, on the contrary, if you're consistently happy, right, you have a ton of energy, you're motivated, you're passionate, you're inspired, right? And, if you're constantly in those states of mind, you're grateful. You're in, what Tony Robbins calls this beautiful states. If you're constantly in beautiful states, your quality of life is going to be very high, right? You're going to have a good life. Yeah. And so when you attach your quality of life or your happiness, you attach that to something external, which is what most entrepreneurs do, then it's going to be a constant fucking up and down. And I still go through this, by the way. Okay. I still go through this, right? Owning businesses, it's no walk in the park, right? You have to constantly monitor. But if you let that run wild without being aware of what it's doing to you internally, you're never going to be grounded. You're going to be oh yeah, we just closed this big ass deal. We're doing good. And then you have a bad month or you have a bad quarter. And then all of a sudden your self-worth is not there. And then your confidence goes down. It's kind of spirals, right?
I got you. That's a good one.
So instead of playing this crazy, roller coaster up and down to where your emotions are spiraling down and spiraling back up, you need to have a good solid ground that doesn't change. And that's why mindset is, that's why it's literally everything.
I love that.
That's everything.
Yeah.
And success is not having a business and making $1 million. That's not success. Okay. That's not, it can be if that's what if you label it, but success is a mindset. Success is a state, right? And so if you feel that way, you feel successful, you're going to create actions in your life that will match up, that will align, right? And, if you feel abundant, you're going to breed abundance into your life. And, whether that's, your job or your business. But the point is, like, you're not attached to that. It's not conditional.
Yeah.
It's not conditioned. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
No, yeah. That's awesome, man. Because people love the shiny stuff, but then they fail the deep stuff. And it happens to me. It happens to you. Like, it happens to everybody, no matter how much you study this. No one's perfect. But what I love about, like, the mindset thing that it's awesome is, mindset could not be that important if you want to make, let's say, X amount of money, right? It's a label of $100,000, right? Doesn't mean that equals mindset, but you don't need mindset to get to $100,000, right?
yeah.
What happens when you get there, or what happens when you fail? There's thoughts that are going to come into your mind, and if you don't have a good grounded state of what you're thinking, then you're just going to let that $100,000 thing affect your next move, affect your next thought, affect your next actions, either for the better or for the worse. And you rather, instead of allowing this $100,000 to let you affect actions, you rather just be unaffected and just do whatever you feel like should be done.
Yeah, exactly. But the key there is doing what, all right, so basically there is this idea of your true self, right? Which is, in what I believe it's just consciousness, right? Like, we are conscious beings, right. But over time, as we get older, starting from when we're, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, we start tacking on these identities, and we start tacking on these layers of conditioning, right? These layers and layers and layers of social conditioning. All right, so let me give you some examples. Okay, I'm Hispanic, and so I don't feel as up to par, let's say, as someone else. Let's say, for example, right? That's a condition that society places. And all minorities go through this, right? Let's say I live in America, right? So, like, I want to be successful, right? And I need to make a lot of money. And that's another condition that's conditioned upon me by society.
Yeah.
Right? And all of these conditions are so thickly layered into our brain. They're kind of like wired there. And so we have these conditions of, like, what we think that we need to be. These conditions create identities. We have all these identities that we think that we need to be, right? And and then there's the true self that, like, is completely suppressed, because there's, like, it's like power, like, it's just like there's so much weight of conditioning on it. That's like this true self is completely suppressed. Yeah. But one thing that you can do in meditation is, one, become aware that there is a true self, which I think is the soul. And, there's this conditioned self. Oh, but I need to make some money. But, like, I'm a man, so I need to have this and this.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, there's literally infinite amount of, like, conditions that we've been conditioned to embody. Like, oh, this is us. That's me. That's my identity, right? So the reality is, like, when you're able to come from that true self place, anything that comes from that is going to be pure, I believe. And I think driving from there, I literally just did a meditation the other day, and I was, like, almost asking like my soul. I was like, all right, well, what should I do right now? Boom, and give me like 4 things, right? And there's obviously practices. This comes from, years of like practicing meditation. Like someone that's going to be able to jump in and just
like, I got it all figured out.
Yeah, but there are definitely like resources that you can get to. But when you're coming from that place, and some people call it, God, some people call it, consciousness, whatever. When you're coming from that place, I believe like that whatever that is knows what you want and knows what you want to do, and you follow that, and boom, like, that's where you're always going to get like where you're supposed to be from. So,
dude, this is.
I had no idea we would be taking it here, bro.
Flipping houses, everybody. No, just kidding.
And that's how you flip houses.
This is what it takes. You got to read 18 books of Eckhart Tolle and.
No, but real talk though, like here, you know what really makes me even more like passionate is like, let's be real, like there's an epidemic going on that no one's talking about, and that's like everybody is like insecure nowadays.
Yep.
Okay. Because like there's like record levels of insecurity, which leads to depression. It leads to anger. It leads to all these low quality mental states.
The slow vibrations. Slow vibration.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like clearly the majority way, like the way that the pack is walking, like clearly like they're not doing it right. Right. Also, like they spend most of their waking day doing something that they don't like, not living empowered lives, not being passionate about what they do, not living like completely in love, both with themselves, the world, life, with others in general. And so I'm like, all right, there's got to be a fucking better way, right?
Yeah.
So I went through this personal mentorship last year. I really started to dig into more self-awareness, which led me to, really digging into more of that spiritual path. And that's when I realized, like, yo, all this shit is a fucking illusion. Like, all of this is an illusion. All that matters, literally, is like how you, the life that you live internally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good, man. No, it is. Like, I feel like the people listening who are ready to ingest this information will really like this. And the people who are not ready won't. And that's okay.
Sure.
But
also give some tangible stuff for the people that are not ready. Like I can give, specific strategies on like what I do on a daily basis, how I'm very productive, what business strategies I use to
and I think that'd be cool to obviously do like another episode or something. But yeah, dude, I think like the people who really like are ready to listen to this or are into it in some way, who really enjoy this, coming from, someone who's apart from this is someone who's like actually doing deals, who's actually in the business for a while, which we'll get into now for a couple of minutes before we get off, just so people can get some context of, who's on the other side here. But this stuff is good, man. This stuff is like actually real things. Like a lot of it sounds like some crazy thing sometimes. Mm-hmm. A lot of it sounds like, oh yeah, I mean, he understands it, but I would never understand it. Or I don't even know where I would learn that. Like there's books, we could put them in the show notes. There's books I'm sure Joe could tell us at the end of the episode. There's ways to learn this stuff if this stuff interests you, right? It's not for everybody for sure, but I definitely think it's, if you are able to grasp some of these concepts, it can change your life in ways like you wouldn't even understand. You have to really. For sure. But dude, let's get into wholesale real quick. So I guess like what does your shit look like right now? What's your team look like? What's the here?
Yeah. So like, all right. So I actually I joined up with a partner. We did we built a wholesaling business back in 2013, I believe, or 2014. And then we went through a lot, right? We went through a lot of different learning and growing pains. We went through the whole roller coaster, right? Where we were getting deals and then, we wouldn't get deals, and then we were getting deals and we wouldn't get deals. And, it was just kind of like crazy fluctuation, right? And so we'll transition kind of into just straight business talk. What I realized was we went through a lot of that. Our bank account almost hit 0 3 times. There was like a period of time where we didn't get a deal for 4 months, and realized like, okay, there's got to be a better way than this, right? There's got to be a better way to do this to where we can be consistent, okay? But, we were still pounding the phones, we were cold calling, we were sending mail, and, we were trying to get that, we were really just trying to make money. Like, it was just a hustle, right? Until we discovered that there's a science to this. There's a science to building a business, right? Science, and it's not an art. And so you literally just follow the science of building a business, and you can build a business. Right? You can have consistency. You can have, consistent months, right? You can have an automated business. And so, we hired mentors, we read certain business books, and we really started to properly structure the company. Okay, we automated our marketing, right? We put roles and responsibilities. We put accountabilities in place. We created a CRM. We started tracking all of our data. And then the big thing about tracking your data is you can analyze your data, and you can see, okay, what's working, what's not working, right? We hired the right people as opposed to the wrong people. We input the right compensation structures, and we put people in the right seats. And then we also were able to really just put the right processes in place and delegate those processes to our team, right? And then boom, like we hit 7 figures that next year, right? 2015.
Nice.
And we were still obviously learning things along the way.
Yeah.
But we grew every year since then. And that's when I realized, like, okay, it's a system. All you need is the right freaking system, right? And so we learned all of those things, right? We inputted that system in place. And so, fast forward, right? We were doing, anywhere from 150 to 300 grand a month, in multiple different markets, virtually wholesaling in multiple different markets, which we were looking for a mentor to do that with. And there was no one around, like no one had that down. And so we're like, all right, well, we got to freaking pave the way. And so, we did that. Boom, we entered into Tampa from DC, and then we just started, we started killing it. We just started crushing it. And so, specific strategies for that too, obviously. But so I actually, I realized that I wanted to do coaching. Okay. Because I absolutely love coaching. Coaching is I love doing it. Okay. As you can probably tell, right? So I realized that I really wanted to do that. And so, long story short, like me and my partner, we were in that business we ended up splitting ways. And I actually ended up, selling my ownership of that business, to pursue my passion, which is what I really wanted to do. And man, it was like when you're doing something that you're passionate about, it is so different. Oh man, it's so different.
Yeah, it's a whole nother world.
Because I'll be honest, I wasn't really passionate about flipping homes, Right. And so now I help other real estate investors and people that are interested in the space that have prior real estate experience. Let's say realtors, for example. I help them scale their businesses, just like we did, because a lot of them were where we were with the roller coaster, living deal to deal, right? Stressed because there's so much to do, overwhelmed, right? So I help them put that system in place. I help give them the business in a box where, there are processes already done for you. There's a CRM that tracks everything. That's the central hub. And, it's reporting to you on a weekly basis. It's giving you data. Really, I'm just, I just help them build a real business. And so, I've helped really like my main ideal client right now is like, a wholesaler that's doing like 2 deals, 3 deals a month, right? 4 deals a month. And then they're really looking to scale up. And so, I've done that like, here in
That's awesome.
my client's office. And, before they were doing that, they were doing like 4, but they just got 7 contracts like last week, and, just crushing out those, and building those businesses, right? Like that's what I'm passionate about.
I love that.
And it's nothing short of amazing, right? And, I have
So dope.
literally the blueprint, and I'm there like giving it to, investors, wholesalers, even real estate agents. I have a client in DC. They did like 700 last year, and ever since they joined up with my program, they did 700 by June.
Shit.
Before June, I think end of May. And so they literally like more than doubled their business, and so I also teach agents how to get into wholesaling because they already know real estate. They already know how to transact real estate. They already know how to talk to sellers. I don't really help any newbies because, there's too much hand holding there, but I do help, people that are in real estate scale their business. Right. And so they added the leg of wholesaling those clients in DC. They added that leg. And they also hired me to help them just structure and systemize the business. And boom, like they started crushing it.
Beast. I love that, man. So basically,
Yeah.
you help people get to 7 figures somehow, some way, and you've done it, right? Like you had the blueprint, especially in the wholesale space. So now you're passionate about helping the wholesalers, and I'm sure you get really involved in the deals they're doing, leads they're getting, how they're getting them, how do you track them, what CRM are they going in, etc. So pretty much still doing deals, just helping other people do deals, right? Which I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, I have one question that I like to ask everybody I get on here. What do you think is the next $100 million play in the real estate investing space?
All right. What do you mean when you say that?
Like what like niche or what angle can you take to build a $100 million company, let's say, or to make 100 million eventually?
Okay. Well, the first thing is, I think there are probably very, very few people that have gotten to that level in real estate from building like one strategy. I would say like a lot of people that are there, like they own commercial buildings and stuff like that. I mean, at that level, you're talking about like really investing into big multifamily buildings, big commercial spaces. But if you're asking me like what's like the next wave, well, one, I think wholesaling will always be around.
Yep.
Right. And so like it's always a good way to really get started. It's a good way to get your foot in the door. And it's a good way to like really what you're building is a real estate acquisitions company. Right. Whether you wholesale it off, whether you keep it, like that's up to you. But what you're building is a real estate acquisitions company that is, that knows how to talk to sellers and knows how to, market to properties, right? That knows how to market to homeowners and get deals under contract, right? And so I think a real estate acquisitions company will always exist, right? Those will always exist. And so it's always good to have that as a base. What I'm seeing more of right now as the market is turning is like creative deals, right? Wraps and owner financing and things like that. I don't know that would be enough to get you to $100 million level, but
like whatever you think. Like if you think 100 million in real estate, like what the first thing you think of is what, commercial real estate?
I mean, that's a big level, right? And so like that's the first thing that comes to my mind is like multifamily.
That's pretty cool. It's funny. Like I like to ask that because it gets people's like minds turning. Like, 100 million.
Yeah.
It's just like
what do you think? What do you think?
I think commercial for sure. And I think there's a win somewhere in the tech space of real estate.
Okay, see, if I didn't know you were asking about that. It's because the tech space are 100%.
Yeah, anything that kind of involves like real estate or investing. Like I know that there's a hard money lending company that got valued at $1 billion, and all they do is hard money all over the U.S.
Which one?
Lending home.
Oh, wow.
Over $1 billion they got valued, and
Yeah.
it's like a 30-year-old dude that owns the company, or
Yeah.
And but really, they're more of a tech company than a lending company. Like, they raise money to lend people money, but they have like such a badass platform, and he built a system of getting loans and then selling them off in a very systematic way online.
Mm-hmm.
And bro, so it's crazy. Like, I just like to get people's minds turning.
Absolutely. Like what I think there's way more money in tech than there is in like, and don't tell anybody I said this, but I think there's way more money in I won't call it tech. I'll say the digital space.
Yeah, digital.
Right. Because like technically, like I would be in the digital space, right? If I create a course, I sell the course, that's like you can make a lot of good money that way, right?
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that though is it's saturating the market with people that have no business selling courses.
Yeah.
Like someone makes like 100,000 and they want to sell a course. Like, no, like you got
people that done one deal and they want to be a coach. I'm like, bro, you doing one deal? Come on.
Yeah, see that's ridiculous.
It's like, I don't want to be a dream killer, but I'm gonna kill your dream, bro. You can't.
But you see, at the end of the day, like I think there's a balance with everything, right? So that'll balance out.
Yeah.
Meant to be there, then sure they'll be there. Most case scenario, like they'll get knocked out.
Yeah, 100%.
And they'll have to do something else. So there's also an equilibrium in business, right?
Yeah. The market pays for people who deserve to be there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And so but I think the digital space, there's a hell of a lot of opportunity. If you're talking about $100 million there, yeah, for sure. Like people that have created apps, right?
Yeah.
For any different segment of real estate, whether it's funding, right? Whether it's driving for dollars, whether it's CRM, you know what I mean? I mean, think about how much Podio probably makes. They probably make bank. You know what I mean?
That's actually a great thing to look up. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But all right, so this will be like kind of one of the last questions. So what is like a tactical thing you can give to like a new person that wants to get their first deal? They have, let's say, $500 and they want to get like their first deal. What is like a quick like step-by-step of what Joe would do in that situation?
Yeah.
First deal.
Yeah, so I actually just made a video on this. Like if you only have, but I did it about for like 2,000, 3,000. If you want to have like 3,000 to spend on marketing, where do you spend it? So the first thing you want to do is follow Joe Dillon on social media. I give a ton of free content, but if you only have 500, which is obviously like a slim budget, but if you're there right now, then you have to resort to doing some of the very low cost or no cost marketing methods. Yep. So, things like driving for dollars, right? Going and looking at properties that have overgrown grass, a lot of mail in the door, that are just dilapidated properties. They're they're just in complete need of renovation. And then what you can do is just gather up a bunch of those, and then you can skip trace them, find their phone numbers, and then cold call them, right? That's huge, very, very common way that a lot of people get their first deal. They don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing. Once you scale up from that and you close a deal, let's say you have 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000. Yeah. Now you start to get a little bit more smart with your time. Okay, building a business is all about being very conscious of your time and the tasks, how much time your tasks are taking. Yeah. Buying back when you get your first deal is you're buying back your time. Right. And so you're not gonna spend all the time like driving for dollars and like going and driving the streets and all that shit. You might do that for a good portion of like your first 6 months of your business, but you want to buy back your time. And so, what you can do is get free data from the county, right? You can get an evictions list, right? You can get a water shut off list, which that's a really good list.
I like that.
And then, if you really want to be targeted, what you can do is get as much free data from the county as possible. And then you can what's called stack. You can stack your lists to where you're finding the commonalities amongst all of them. So let's say you have a vacant property that is also the water's been shut off, and they're also delinquent on their taxes, and they're also a probate, right? So like that's a freaking steaming hot lead.
Even if you have like 8 of those, just bro, you better hammer all those 8, knock on those doors, like.
Yeah, go deep with a small amount of leads. And yeah, just like you said, hit them from every angle. And if they don't freaking pick up, go knock on the door, find out where they live. But like the key is skip tracing them so you can find out their mailing address, and then you can get their phone numbers. And so, definitely want to, again, if you're doing if you don't have a good budget, a high budget, you can get
free records.
Yeah, you can go to like Been Verified, right? It's like, I think it's like $20 a month.
That's
so,
right.
So that's a good one.
So basically was go out there, find free data from the county, put them on Been Verified, skip trace them, and then give them a couple calls.
Before you skip trace, well, okay, so if you're using something like Been Verified, you don't have to pay per search. So yeah, you can get everybody if you want. If you are paying per search, you're using a different service, then you want to stack your lists before you skip trace if you're conscious of your budget. That way you're not skip tracing, 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000. You're skip tracing like a few hundred.
Yeah. So basically like narrow it down to the highest motivated.
Yeah.
And I think that's for sure. That's the way exactly that I tell everybody who wants to start. Go get on the phones, man. Like find these people, obviously, drive for dollars, find the public thing. Get on the phones. If you want to knock on the door, that's awesome too. But I'd pick getting on the phone over knocking on doors, because I feel like knocking on doors over time can be so much more almost like demotivating for someone who's brand new.
Yeah.
Better to just get hung up on than like physically go like knock somebody bitching out. If you're brand new, that can be like a painful experience. And I would say get into that after you like been on the phone a few times. So that's kind of like our advice. But dude, this has been sick. There's been some stuff. There's been some. It's definitely been like one of the more introspective
deep
episodes for sure.
Yeah. Probably a lot deeper than most of the conversations you have.
Sure.
I just I'm at a point in my life where it's just like
the way you are, man.
There's nothing but deep. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm already I'm past the fucking superficial. Yeah. Like life is so much deeper. But for those of you who are not there yet, that's okay. You might need, and for those of you, there might be some people who are like, the fuck is this guy talking about? Yeah. I just want to make money. And get girls. You know what I mean? Like, and that might be your way right now, right? Yeah. And who knows? It might come back around. And so
you just gotta go through it, man. Go through it and at least be aware that this exists. And as you kind of desire, then you learn about it and you fucking take it in.
Sure. Yeah. Again, like, it's everyone is on their own path, and I'm respectful of that, which is also another byproduct of like spiritual growth, is you just respect other people's paths.
Yeah. Joe, dude, where can people find you, dude? If they want to connect with you, they want to reach out, they want to get to know you, possibly work with you. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. So you can follow me on Instagram. Okay, it's Joe Dillon Official. JoeDillon Official. You can friend me on Facebook. I am at my limit though. I'm at 5,000 limit. So I'm gonna try to delete some people out. So you can message me there, Joe Dillon. Find me on Facebook. You can also email me. You can email me. It's joe@elevatecoachinggroup.com. So that domain. So again, joe@elevate coachinggroup.com. I'm coming out with a program specifically for realtors, for agents, real estate agents that want to get into wholesaling, because I saw how great it was for my clients in DC. And I want to develop a program specifically geared towards realtors that want to get into wholesaling, that want to add that extra leg of income and double their revenue. And so, again, I'm not working with anybody new. right? Not yet. So new agents or new investors, you can still reach out to me because I do have, like worst case scenario, I can point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I will be coming out with a product soon for you guys, for anybody that's new.
Love it.
But yeah, hit me up on there.
Yeah, we should talk a little about that because my specialty is like we get deals on MLS through realtors. Like it's how I started the business. It's like what we do. It's still 50 to 60% of our business is through MLS, even in South.
No way.
Completely free. Our average profit's $12K. We make commissions on it. We own our own brokerage. It's a very interesting system how we have it set up.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome that you're still able to like pull deals from that even in this market.
Yeah, and if you're training realtors, they know the MLS. So it might be interesting to talk, obviously off the air on this.
Yeah,
And see if there's anything I can add value there if you ever do an event or some shit.
Absolutely. Dude, events are my favorite, right? I'm having an event August 16th and 17th. So, and if anybody's listening to this, that's
yeah. So tell us about that real quick.
Yeah. So I'm having an event 16th and 17th. Dude, you should actually come to that. I'm having an event 16th and 17th in Miami Beach.
Oh shit.
Over by your way.
All right.
And it's in 3 weeks. When does this air?
This should be out in about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. It'll probably be a little late, but in case you want to make a spur of the moment decision, August 16th and 17th, Miami. We're going to be teaching all of the business, how to structure it, how to properly process all the different processes and departments for the business. It's more geared towards people that are already in the business because we use a lot of lingo. We talk about the different software and programs that you're probably already using. And so for anybody that's new, it probably goes over your head a lot. It's more advanced, super ninja strategies to double your business and create consistent income. So definitely reach out.
How can they see info on it? Do you have a website set up for that?
Yep. So it is www.7figurewholesale.com and /event.
Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you when we're done here to maybe send me on an email all this stuff and I'll put it on the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah. I figured to do that. Yeah. So
let me know and I'll go.
Yeah, for sure. And if dude, I'd love to see you there, man. It would be freaking awesome, Yeah.
Love it. So yeah, man, this has been dope. I hope you got some value out of it. We spoke a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So Joe, I appreciate again you coming on. I know you got a bunch of stuff out there.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let me end with some tools.
Okay.
So tools, like books, for example. Okay, so for books,
I'm gonna write this down too.
All right, so the book that I mentioned before is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Freaking phenomenal book.
He's a beast. I've seen interviews with him.
Oh yeah. Wait, what's that?
I've seen interviews with him.
Yeah.
He's a really good speaker as well.
Yeah, the dude is doing revolutionary research and just completely revolutionizing the industry as far as mind and success and how that actually correlates. And so he's big on meditation. He actually literally measures people's brain waves of what happens during meditation. And it's amazing stuff. And he teaches in his book how to think and how to manifest, and it's amazing. Another awesome book that I love. So there are different books for different levels depending on where you are, but a great one that can really destroy a lot of the beliefs and conditions that you may have, maybe social structures and things like that is oh my god, it's a Napoleon Hill book.
Okay.
And, oh my god, I'm blanking right now. Have you ever heard? It's something with the devil. What am I thinking of? I've literally recommended this book 80 times. I can't believe I'm blanking on it now.
Let's see.
Outwitting. There you go. Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Outwitting the Devil, yeah.
Yeah. So that's an amazing one too. Okay, The Untethered Soul. If you want to kind of go internal, if you want to go inside and kind of understand how things work on a spiritual level, The Untethered Soul is an amazing book. As far as business goes, Traction is good. Teaches you how to structure your business. Although, if you're just getting started, you might not need to read it until you really start to close some deals and you have a little bit of time to systemize the business.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of space, what I call creating cash space. So you want to create a little bit of cash space. Once you have that space, then you can take some time back and systemize the business. And so Traction is a good one for that. The E-Myth is also good. And if you're at the higher level and you're already closing deals, you already have a business, Profit First is a great way to structure your finances for your business. Profit First. Scaling up. If you are, like, let's say in the mid 6-figure range or even closer to the 7-figure range, Scaling Up is a phenomenal book on how to organize your business. And so you can scale it from like 7 figures to like 8 figures, right? That's a great book to go from 7 to 8 figures. What else? Man, there's so much good stuff there. I'll end it there.
Yeah.
That stuff, you got some spiritual stuff and you got some business books.
Yeah.
I always like to make it well-rounded, but
yeah. I think there's a lot to touch on too with you, more like business-wise, wholesale strategy and stuff. So I think like we'll set it up maybe a couple months down the road to see where your journey's at then, and maybe go over more of like the in-depth stuff.
For sure.
Cool. I think hopefully by then some of our listeners will be doing deals and stuff, and they'll find that more useful.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of my podcasts have just been like about that. Like the podcasts that I've been interviewed on have just been about like specific strategies on wholesaling and scaling your business. But just went where I went.
I like to get to know the people behind the business, man.
Yeah, I love it.
But
dude, listening to this, we'll probably do another interview with like very, very hardcore business and wholesaling strategies and scaling that out.
Love that. So yeah, I'll ask you to send me an email after so I can put everything in the show notes. And if you guys want to reach out to him, make sure to follow him on Instagram. Thanks again, guys, for listening. If you like this stuff, subscribe. If you're seeing this on YouTube, click the little bell. Whatever you got to do. We're always putting new stuff, new content. So, all right, love you guys. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you again, man.
No doubt.
Be in touch, dog.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.